From homeless black man to millionaire, how Donald Trump and Elon Musk inspired success. Jack Reynolds walked through the crowded streets of the city, the cold shine of skyscrapers cutting through the heavy smog. People passed by, faces dull, some angry, others just lost in their own struggle. Jack's sharp suit and polished shoes made him stand out, but inside he felt more isolated than ever. Everyone wanted a piece of him. His brain, his money, his next big idea. They didn't see the restless nights, the nights when his chest tightened, when the loneliness pressed down hard. He was a king in the world of tech, but it was a lonely kingdom. Fame was not a friend. It was a spotlight that burned, blinding him to everything but demands. Innovation was nothing but a treadmill, moving faster than his tired feet could keep up. Then came the news, a whisper from the depths of the city's forgotten corners. A man named Thomas, living under a shadowy overpass, homeless but holding a secret. His fingers trembled as he pulled out sketches and notes, messy but full of life. Their talk was sharp, quick, a clash of minds and worlds. Jack's walls cracked a little, surprised by Thomas's brilliance and the fire beneath his ragged exterior. The city's neglect had not crushed him. It had forged a spirit that refused to die. Jack felt his pulse quicken, the tight knot in his chest loosening just a bit. But just as their visions began to weave together, a shadow moved closer. Elaine, Jack's ruthless rival, heard of the meeting. Her eyes held a cold smile, the kind that promised war. She'd stop at nothing to steal or destroy the project. Jack's heart palpitated with dread and defiance. They shared a plan to pull the city from the brink, to bring light to the dark alleys and cold homes. But every step forward was met with desperate ties to old power and blistering questions about ethics. Jack's mind flicked, torn. Chase the gold as always, or fight for something bigger. Something. It was a storm that could wipe it all away. Jack's hands shook. Could he trust Thomas? Could this genius hidden in the shadows actually change the world? Or was it a trap, waiting to break apart everything Jack had built? Everything he was about to risk. The city held its breath. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jack's hands shook. He felt the icy grip of doubt squeezing his heart. Could he trust Thomas? Was this a chance to change the world? Or just another trap? As the shadows stretched, heavy and foreboding, something pierced the night. A blaring siren echoed down the street, louder and angrier than the rest. Jack's blood ran cold. It was coming closer. "Stay here," he whispered to Thomas, the urgency palpable. But Thomas shook his head, eyes wide with fear. "They're coming for me, Jack." "You don't understand. Before he could respond, a group of men in dark uniforms stormed onto the scene, their presence like a storm cloud, darkening the flickering streetlights. Jack's stomach twisted. Dot! They moved fast, professional, scanning the area as if hunting for something or someone. "What are you doing?" Jack shouted, stepping back, feeling the weight of fight or flight press heavy on his chest. "Police!" one shouted, his voice sharp and commanding. "Thomas Connors, we have a warrant for your arrest." Jack's heart raced. Thomas Connors? He stared at the man huddled beside him, disbelief clawing at his mind. "Your name is Thomas Connors?" The revelation hit like a freight train. Jack's thoughts blurred. He'd heard that name in hushed whispers. A child prodigy at a tech company before a scandal sent him spiraling into the streets. A genius turned into a ghost. The very man who could change everything was also a wanted criminal. Thomas's eyes flickered, remorse mixed with defiance. "It's not what you think." He stepped forward, as if to face them, his hands raised. "I didn't do anything." The officers closed in, encircling like a pack of wolves. Jack's throat tightened. "No, you don't have to do this." "Stay back." Another officer barked, shoving Jack aside. Jack stumbled, nearly losing his balance. Panic clawed at him. He couldn't lose this chance. Not now. Not when hope had ignited like flames within him. "Everything I did was for the project," Thomas pleaded, his voice on the edge of breaking. "I was trying to save lives." But they wouldn't listen. In an instant, the air shifted, tension snapping like a cable under strain. Jack's world tilted. Any moment of connection they had built crumbled, washed away by the tide of betrayal and unanswered questions. "Stop!" Jack screamed, lunging forward. But it was too late. They grabbed Thomas, forceful hands pulling him away, dragging him toward the waiting patrol cars. "Jack, help me!" Thomas cried, desperation bleeding through the night. Jack's chest ached. It was a maelstrom of confusion, anger, and fear. He had believed in this man, thought he could be the key to something so much greater. Now, was he merely another player in a game Jack didn't understand? The crowd began to stir, murmurs rising like dark smoke around them. Faces appeared in the shadows, eyes wide with shock and intrigue. Jack felt the weight of judgment pressing down, as if the city itself turned against him. "Who do you think you are?" Elaine's voice cut through the noise, laced with satisfaction. "Ha ha ha ha!" She had appeared out of nowhere, a lurking specter ready to pounce. "You've put your faith in a criminal." There it was, her cold smile, knowing and venomous. "No, you don't know him," Jack shouted, but her laughter echoed back, cruel and triumphant. As the flashing lights illuminated the chaos, a sudden noise shattered the moment. An explosion in the distance rocked the ground. A clamoring roar that swallowed all sound. The crowd gasped, confusion gripping them like a vice. Jack turned, heart pounding. Fire erupted behind the skyline, red and orange flames clawing into the night sky. In that second, the city plunged into chaos. "Get down!" someone yelled. Amidst the screams and confusion, everything shifted. Alliances shattered, fears magnified, and reality twisted into a surreal nightmare. Jack's mind raced. Was this connected? Was Thomas a pawn in something even larger? And more importantly, would this catastrophe change everything they had fought for? The city held its breath. Jack's hand shook as he grappled with the weight of the revelation. Could he trust Thomas? Just then, a noise shattered the tense air, a grating sound of metal scraping against asphalt. A figure emerged from the shadows, weaving through the dark, illuminated only by the flickering streetlight. It was Elaine, Jack's rival, her smile grimmer than ever, shadows hiding her intentions. "Jack," she called, her voice dripping with mockery. "Talking to street rats now?" The derision stung. Thomas flinched, his pride a visible wound. "Get lost, Elaine," Jack snapped, stepping in front of Thomas, protective. "This is none of your business." But the game had just begun. Elaine laughed, a sound so brittle it felt like ice cracking. "Oh, but it is, darling. You have no idea what you're playing with." She stepped closer, her tone shifting. "That man, he's not who you think he is." Jack's heart raced. "What are you talking about?" "The energy idea. It's brilliant, but it's not his." She pointed a finger like a dagger. "Those sketches? I know them well. They're stolen from my father's research." Thomas's eyes widened, sparks of desperation lighting up his face. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. "No, that can't be true. Believe what you want. You're just a puppet. But if you think you can change the world with a child's drawing, you're even more naive than I thought." The streets around them glimmered with unnatural silence. Jack's chest tightened. He took a step back, facing Thomas. "Is this true?" His voice broke, the crack echoing in the still air. A storm brewed in Thomas's eyes. He started, then hesitated, a flicker of something dark crossing his face. "No, it's not like that. I took inspiration, yes, but I've done it. I've made it real." Elaine leaned closer, whispering, "What else are you hiding? Do you think your past will just fade away?" "I've seen the truth behind those eyes." Jack felt panic rise. The weight of the city pressed down. He looked around, people passing by, oblivious to the drama unfolding. "What do you mean?" Jack demanded, heart pounding. Elaine smirked, sensing victory. "You think only I want to win, Jack? Your friend has skeletons hidden too. Ever wonder how someone like him ends up on these streets? How many lives he's shattered to survive?" Jack's breath hitched. "No, you're lying." But the desperation in Thomas's eyes seemed to amplify every doubt. Thomas stepped forward suddenly, anger sparking in his voice. "You think I'm the only one broken here? I'm still standing. I'm a survivor." His hands trembled, anguish transforming into rage. "I was never meant to be this way." "Then why didn't you say something?" Jack cried, frustration clawing at him. "Why lead me on like this?" Before Thomas could answer, the loud crash echoed in the distance. A vehicle swerved, tires screeched, and a shadowed figure leaped from the driver's side. Panic surged through Jack. The figure stumbled, blood trickling from a gash on their forehead. "Help!" A muffled voice cried as the figure collapsed against the pavement. The tension broke. Jack's heart raced like wildfire. He turned to look back at Thomas, but the shadow he'd thought he knew flickered even darker now. Elaine watched with a ruthless grin. In that moment, reality spun out of control. Jack stood, frozen between loyalty and betrayal, the streets engulfed in chaos, unknown dangers lurking everywhere. The cry reverberated around them. Jack took a step forward, drawn to the fallen figure. But behind him, he could feel the threads of trust unraveling. In this city of shadows, nothing was as it seemed. The darkness had arrived, and with it, the truth threatened to drown them all. Jack took a breath, torn. The figure on the ground echoed with a desperate call, pulling him in. He needed to move, but his heart was a storm of doubt. The harsh lights, the tension, and the weight of Elaine's accusations hung heavy in the air. "Help!" the voice called again, breaking through the chaos. Jack's instincts kicked in. He turned sharply to the fallen figure, rushing to aid them, leaving everything else behind. He knelt beside the person. It was a woman, blood trickling from her temple, eyes wide and frantic. "Are you all right?" he asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Help, please," she gasped, her breath shallow. Jack's pulse raced. The night felt charged, electric. But as he reached out to comfort her, a shout erupted behind him. "Jack, no!" Thomas's voice sliced through the sounds of the gathering crowd. Jack's heart sank. He glanced back at Thomas, seeing fury and fear wrestling in his eyes. Elaine smirked, enjoying the chaos. And then the woman clutched Jack's arm, her grip shaking but powerful. "Jack, you have to listen. Not everything is as it seems." The crowd shifted. Murmurs ignited like wildfire. The urgency of the moment was stifled by uncertainty. "What do you mean?" he pressed, barely able to focus on her words through the noise. "Elaine, she's not just a rival. She knows the truth about us all." Suddenly, the sky lit up. A blinding flash, an explosion, an unseen force erupted in the distance, making the ground rumble beneath Jack's feet. His thoughts scattered like shattered glass. Then, in that blinding moment of chaos, clarity struck him. The crowd shrieked, people diving for cover, heart racing. Jack turned back to the woman, but she had gone pale, her face washed in shock. "Thomas!" he called, panic rising as he realized the truth dawning in her eyes. And then it hit him hard. She wasn't just some random woman. "Marie?" Jack gasped, the name slipping from his lips, a jolt of recognition coursing through him. Marie! He had read about her, the brilliant energy scientist who had been presumed dead after a lab explosion years ago. The same explosion that had tainted Thomas's past. She shouldn't be here. How was she alive? "Yes," her voice quivered, fear lacing her words. "You need to understand. They're involved. The energy project? It's bigger than you know. They're lying!" The intensity of her eyes pierced through the fog of doubt. Jack's mind raced, threads of the past weaving into the present. He stole a glance at Thomas, who stood frozen, the blood draining from his face as the pieces fell together. Elaine's voice rang out again, cutting through the confusion. "Don't listen to her, Jack. She's manipulating you." Suddenly, the ground shook again. Sirens blared closer as chaos erupted all around them. Jack felt the pressure rising, the weight of truth and lies crushing down. "Why did you disappear?" Jack demanded, desperate for answers, grappling with reality. "Because I was protecting you, protecting us all from what they planned. Her voice trembled, panic rising in her eyes, as sirens wailed and shadows flitted between the chaos. Behind them, Elaine shifted, eyes glinting with victory. "Oh, this is rich. You think you're the heroes, don't you? But all of you are tangled in a web. Just wait until the truth comes out." Jack's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "You'll find out soon enough," she said, her cold smile slicing through him. Before he could respond, the world around him erupted. People screamed and scattered in every direction. Jack's world tipped, as if a curtain had been pulled, exposing a play he never intended to watch. "Jack, we don't have time! We need to leave!" Marie urged, pulling him up, but the ground beneath them trembled again, an explosion de truth y caos. As everything spiraled, shadows danzaban, y las faces de los entornos se volvían blurridas. Enfermo sopor terrificante. "Marie, espera," he crackled, but all he heard was the pounding of his own heart, a stark rhythm against the unfolding chaos. What was true? What was lie? The city held its breath once more. But this time, it was Jack who felt suffocated by revelations lurking just beyond the veil. Jack's hands shook as the storm brewed around him. He stared at Thomas, the man on the edge of his world, feeling a cold sweat gather along his spine. Trust felt so precious, so fragile. The city seemed to twist around them, a living thing, breathing chaos. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Then came the sound. A low rumble, like thunder, but closer. A shocking crack that echoed off the walls of the overpass. Jack's pulse raced. The ground vibrated beneath them. "What the hell was that?" he gasped, eyes darting around. But Thomas wasn't looking at him. His face was pale, eyes widening with fear. "We need to go, now!" Before Jack could process the urgency, figures emerged from the shadows, dressed in dark, loose clothing, faces hidden beneath hoods. The group moved fast, slipping through the wreckage of trash and crumbling brick. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he took a step back. ... Were they dangerous? Were they coming for Thomas? Then, without warning, one of them lunged. Jack barely had time to react, but instinct took over. He shoved Thomas aside, taking the blow meant for him. Pain exploded in his side, a hot knife that cut through him. He gasped, the world tipping at the edges. Bright lights shot through his vision as he stumbled. "Jack!" Thomas screamed, scrambling to help him. But the group was closing in fast now, voices raised, shouting words Jack couldn't quite catch. They were too angry, too close. He could feel hot breath, strong hands reaching for him, the panic rising like bile. Then, just as the chaos seemed to spiral out of control, a sharp voice cut through. "Enough!" It pierced the air, startling everyone to a halt. A figure stepped forward, confidence radiating. This one wore tailored clothes, sharp and crisp, like Jack's. But their expression was fierce, eyes blazing. "Stand down!" the stranger shouted, and the hoods froze, glancing at each other with doubt. "This man has information." Jack's breath caught in his throat. "What are you talking about?" he wheezed, clutching his side. The stranger turned, narrowing their gaze. "You're Jack Reynolds, right?" The tech mogul? You're the one trying to fix this city? Jack nodded slowly, mind racing. What's this about? Thomas, he's a secret, the stranger replied. He wasn't just homeless, he was part of a project that was shut down before it could even start. A clean energy project funded by a hidden source. And there's more. Jack's stomach turned. What do you mean? Before the stranger could respond, one of the hoods, the one that had lunged at Jack, took a step forward. Enough of this! Is not in control. You're all pawns in a game you don't understand. The words hung heavy in the air, sharp and foreboding. Jack felt the color drain from his face. Pawns! Thomas's face was a mask of panic and determination. They think they can stop this, he said, voice trembling but strong. But they don't know what we've built. They don't know what's coming. A low murmur animated the crowd, eyes now shifting, unsure. But before Jack could fully process the weight of Thomas's words, a sudden flash erupted from the shadows. A camera, a blinding light bathing them all in stark whiteness. The stranger covered their eyes, shouting, "Get back!" But the digital eye was snapping, capturing it all. One moment caught on film could unravel everything. Jack's heart raced. Was this the moment everything changed? Was he still the king in this kingdom, or had he just become another pawn? Heavy silence followed the flash. Everyone was frozen, breaths held as the reality of the intervention settled. What would happen next? The city held its breath, and so did Jack. Jack's hands shook. Could he trust Thomas? Could this genius hidden in the shadows actually change a world? Or was it a trap, waiting to break apart everything Jack had built, everything he was about to risk? The city held its breath. Then a scream shattered the silence, a shrill, raw sound that echoed through the alley. Jack whipped around, heart racing. It came from the far end, where the dark shadows gathered. Within a heartbeat, a figure stumbled into view, falling to the ground like a broken marionette. It was Elaine. Her shirt was ripped, and blood oozed from a wound on her forehead. The cold street glistened with crimson, contrasting sharply against the dull gray. A crowd formed, pulling back in shocked whispers, confusion swirling around like smoke. Jack's gut twisted. What had happened? Thomas's eyes widened in disbelief, his sketches forgotten on the ground. Jack! We have to help her! But something froze Jack in place. The fear that raced through him was not just for Elaine. It was the electric buzz of revelation crackling in the air. Why was she here? What had she been doing? He moved closer, but before he could speak, Elaine's eyes darted around, looking for something or someone. Then they locked onto Jack's, wide and wild. They found out, she gasped, the words tumbling out between labored breaths. The project. They're coming for it. They don't want change. Jack felt the knot in his chest tighten again. This was bigger, darker than he had imagined. Who's coming for it? His voice trembled, barely escaping his throat. She opened her mouth to answer, but shadows crept in closer. Arms turned to fists. Jack was suddenly reminded of the energy that had crackled between him and Thomas. He shared a fleeting glance with the homeless man, the shared understanding painful. This was no longer just about innovation or profit. It was a fight for survival. Then The crowd parted like a curtain, revealing 3 figures, looming and menacing. Each one was a giant of the tech world. Rivals and associates of Jack, with cold eyes and narrow smiles. They were bad news, showing up at a moment when chaos ruled. Jack felt the heat of betrayal blaze up his spine. Could they have orchestrated this? One stepped forward, a man with slicked back hair and an expensive suit. "Well, well," he drawled, voice steeped in mockery. "Looks like the great Jack Reynolds has found himself in quite a small pond." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, uncertainty hanging heavy in the air. Elaine gasped. "Get her out of here!" Jack shouted, but the shadows moved faster, circling. "Don't let them in! They'll destroy everything!" Panic clawed at his insides. The figures laughed, their voices weaving through the night like poison. Jack's stomach dropped. This was said and done. He could feel the power shifting. Thomas stepped forward, eyes blazing with a strange confidence. "She's right. You think you can stop progress? You don't know what's coming." The leader shrugged. "Oh, we know, Thomas. We know everything." With that, the ground shook as a distant explosion erupted, followed by blinding lights. Shockwaves rolled across the pavement, sending people sprawling. Confusion erupting like a monster. Jack braced himself, heart racing, eyes darting. The world twisted as he tried to process it all. In the fires of chaos, what were they really up against? Secrets whispered through the air like curling smoke. But everything changed when Thomas's trembling hand touched Jack's arm, a brazen trust igniting between them. "It's time to decide. Fight or flee." As explosions echoed and shadows danced in the chaos, Jack stood caught between trust and treachery, between old worlds and new beginnings. The city around them held its breath, but his heartbeat thundered louder than anything else. What lay buried in both their pasts? What could shatter the fragile alliance they had barely begun? The darkness thickened, and mystery loomed heavy, twisting even the brightest hopes into something unexpected. Would they plunge into the unknown? Or would old ghosts drag them back? The city stood at a crossroads, and Jack had to choose. What did it mean to truly risk it all? Jack's heart raced as he stared at Thomas. The city buzzed around them, a chaotic symphony of life, but all he could hear was the pounding in his chest. Trust. Could he trust Thomas? Was this genius hiding something darker? Before he could voice his doubts, a deafening crash echoed through the alley. A dumpster slammed into the pavement, metal groaning under the sudden impact. Jack jumped, his instinct screaming. The moment froze, a tense tableau of uncertainty. Then it happened. A figure burst into the scene. Elaine, her eyes wild, a manic energy radiating from her. She was not just a rival. She was a rogue storm, and she had a secret of her own. With an unexpected speed, she lunged toward Thomas, her hand outstretched. "Stop!" Jack yelled, stepping between them instinctively. A thin thread of fear curled in his gut. What was she up to? But she was faster. She swung her arm, and in her hand was a document, a small, crumpled piece of paper. "Look at this!" she shouted, her voice sharp enough to cut through the night. "This is proof. Your precious Thomas, he's a fraud." Jack's eyes darted to Thomas, whose face shifted from confusion to something darker, a flicker of anger. "What are you talking about?" Jack demanded, his heart pounding. Elaine tossed the paper at Jack's feet. It fluttered down like a fallen leaf. "Read it," she urged, a cruel smile stretching across her face, "before you bet everything on him." Jack's hands trembled as he picked up the paper. He squinted under the dim light. The words blurred together, but the meaning came through like an icy blade. Thomas Reynolds, record of theft, intent to commit fraud. Jack's breath hitched in his throat, a lump forming as disbelief washed over him. No, it can't be. The air felt heavy. The city seemed to hold its breath as Jack's world tilted. "I didn't steal anything." Thomas's voice broke, desperation clawing at the edges. "That's not me. Someone set me up." But doubt crept in, wrapping around Jack's thoughts like ivy choking a tree. He had fought so hard to connect with Thomas, to see through the grime and pain. Could he be wrong about this? As the words sank in, shadows flickered in Jack's heart. Was this his chance? Or was it all a trap? Moments stretched into an eternity, the weight of reality settling in. Suddenly, a distant sound pierced the air. Sirens. Hot flashes of red and blue lighting up the dark alleys. Jack turned, panic racing through him. Could they be coming for Thomas? In that instant, something inside Jack snapped. Betrayal, confusion, anger, all coiling tighter within him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jack shouted, eyes locked on Thomas, whose face was a kaleidoscope of emotions. Hurt, rage, pleading. "Did you really think I'd find out this way?" "I'm not the person they say I am," Thomas yelled back, a mix of passion and despair. "You have to believe me." Jack's mind spun. The sirens grew louder, splitting the night. What now? Who was he really helping? A genius or a con man? Elaine stood off to the side, her smile still sharp, savoring the moment. "Tick-tock, Jack. Decisions, decisions." As the lights grew closer, the truth lay bare, yet enshrouded in shadows. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him, the fabric of everything he believed now fraying at the edges. And in that fractured silence, uncertainty loomed heavy. What if everything he thought he knew was a lie? What if he had stepped into a web far greater than he could untangle? The sirens wailed louder, a countdown towards consequences he couldn't yet see. The city was alive, but Jack felt all its darkness closing in. What would he choose to believe? The sirens wailed louder, a countdown echoing in Jack's ears. He stood there, the paper crumpled in his fist, uncertainty gnawing at him. Not a moment passed before a crushing weight fell over the street. Shadows loomed from every angle, closing in as confusion morphed swiftly into panic. "Jack!" Thomas shouted, urgency slicing through the chaos. The crowd stood still, murmurs rippling like waves. Jack could see it in their eyes. Doubt, fear, judgment. Elaine crossed her arms, a knowing smirk dancing on her lips. "You're in deep now, Jack. Trust can be a dangerous game." Suddenly, the distant sound of a helicopter sliced through the air, growing louder, blades slicing the night sky like a grim harbinger. Jack looked up just as a spotlight pierced the darkness, illuminating the street, drawing everyone's eyes. "No!" Jack breathed, confusion morphing into dread as the truth settled heavily around him. And then it happened, a moment shattering everything he thought he understood. The helicopter swung its spotlight over the crowd and landed directly on Elaine. For a split second, it felt like time froze. The world tilted as she stood there, astonished, caught in the blinding light, the confident rogue now revealing her colors. "Wait, what?" Jack stammered. Before anyone could react, men in tactical gear poured from the helicopter, storming the ground like agents of a shadowy game. They moved in perfect synchronization, faces masked, weapons drawn. The crowd gasped, panic crashing like a wave. Jack instinctively reached for Thomas, ready to protect the man who had become the focal point of his doubts. "Get back!" one of the operatives shouted, pushing people away, clearing a path. The atmosphere throbbed with tension as fear laced through the crowd, uniting them in their uncertainty. But it was Elaine they wanted. She stood frozen, eyes wide, disbelief painted on her face. You're with them?" The accusation hung in the air, sharp and brutal. A figure in black stepped forward, removing their mask, and Jack's heart plummeted. He recognized the grinning face of Richard, the ruthless CEO from the tech industry, whose deals always reeked of deceit. "Of course you'd find your way back into the fold, Elaine," he sneered, arrogance shimmering in his tone. "The touchstone for our little scheme." Jack's gut twisted. Everything felt surreal, like time warping as he took a step back. Was this some grand betrayal? Elaine laughed, but it was a wild laugh, void of joy. "You think you can control this?" She pointed at Jack, fiery defiance sparking in her eyes. "You think you can manipulate the narrative?" Richard leaned closer, speaking with deadly calm. "Oh, I know you think you're playing a game of trust, Elaine. But we know everything. The project, Thomas? Your precious clean energy idea?" The world spun in Jack's mind as the pieces fell into place. Something dark swirled beneath the surface of their fight, a tangled web of deceit reaching far beyond their street. Realization crashed over him like a cold wave. "No way! You've all been lying." Suddenly, Thomas lunged forward. "Get away from her!" Anger surged through him, a fierce determination lighting up his face. "Thomas!" Jack shouted, desperate to pull him back, but time slowed down. The operatives were swift. In a heartbeat, they tackled Thomas to the ground, pinning him down as he yelled in rage and confusion. "Stop it! Don't hurt him!" Jack cried. But something deep inside him whispered the truth, a haunting realization unfurling. Richard smiled, a predator's grin. "Oh, it's too late for that." He glanced between Elaine, Jack, and the convulsing Thomas. "You've all been dancing on the strings, and now it's time to cut them." With that, the world exploded around them. A blinding flash lit the night. Jack stumbled, blinded momentarily. When he could see again, the horror unfolded. The very shadows that had once encouraged trust were engulfed in betrayal. The very foundations of Jack's understanding trembling beneath him. The helicopter's roar felt like thunder. As confusion erupted, chaos spiraled. Was left grappling, heart pounding in his chest, terror clawing at his throat. The city held its breath again. But this time, As everything spiraled into the unknown, the darkness had revealed something deeper, something even more sinister, waiting just beyond their reach. Jack's grasp on reality slipped like sand through his fingers. What had he truly discovered? Who could be trusted now? And as he looked into Thomas's eyes, stricken and betrayed, a chilling echo whispered through the weight of the night. Had this all been planned from the very beginning? The city held its breath again. But this time, as everything spiraled into the unknown, the darkness revealed something deeper, something even more sinister, waiting just beyond their reach. Jack's grasp on reality slipped like sand through his fingers. And then it happened. A piercing scream shattered the tension, a sound that wasn't coming from Elaine, but from the crowd. The spotlight from the helicopter swung wildly, washing over a figure in the shadows. "Fiona, no!" a voice cried out, frantic. Jack turned, eyes wide. It was Fiona, Thomas's sister, the girl Thomas had mentioned in their late-night talks on the streets. She stumbled into the light, panic etched across her face, blood dripping from her forehead, eyes wide with fear and desperation. "Thomas!" she screamed again. Jack felt a jolt in his chest. Everything shifted in that moment, the ground beneath him trembling with the weight of unwelcome truth. Fiona came barreling forward, a chaotic bundle of hurt and fear. "They're coming for you! They know everything!" Thomas's face went pale, a wave of recognition washing over him. "How did you get here?" he asked, voice shaking. "Don't you get it? We're all in danger." Her breathing was ragged, body shaking like a leaf in the wind. "They've been watching, plotting, all of us. They want to erase the project and anyone who knows about it." Jack moved closer, feeling the pull of her urgency. Panic gripped him. "Who's they? What are you talking about?" Before she could respond, Richard stepped forward, a dark smile creeping across his face. "Ah, the family reunion. How touching. We really have all the pieces in place now." He turned to his crew, a shark among minnows. "Grab her!" The operatives surged like wolves. Jack moved to block them. "Get back!" he shouted, heart racing. But it was Fiona's next words that froze him in place. "Jack, I know the truth. The energy project, it's all a front. It was never what you thought." Her eyes bore into his, and in that moment, the world felt like it shattered around him. You've all been pawns in this game. And Thomas, he's not just a genius, he's a legacy bear. A deafening explosion erupted, drowning out the end of her sentence, sending shockwaves that knocked everyone to the ground. Jack hit the pavement hard, the world spinning. The helicopter trembled in the wind, the light flickering above. Dust and debris rained down, an unseen storm engulfing them. He scrambled to his feet, heart racing as chaos erupted. Sirens blended with shouts. Panic spread through the crowd like wildfire. Thomas was on his knees, face contorted with horror, Fiona crying out, desperately trying to reach him. "Get out!" Richard barked, his voice drowned out by the chaos. Shadows swarmed as people pushed and shoved in every direction, gripping each other in fear. "Thomas!" Jack called, but his voice felt small in the frenzy. What did she mean? As he looked toward Thomas, his world tilted again. A figure stepped from the smoke and chaos, a silhouette cloaked in black, moving with purpose. Jack's breath caught in his throat. "Wait! Stop!" he shouted, trying to make sense of everything, but it was too late. The figure lunged for Thomas, hands reaching out. "You need to remember," they yelled, voice echoing through the wreckage. "You're the key to everything. Don't let them take you." "Who are you?" Jack yelled, but his words were swallowed by the chaos. Thomas's expression warped into raw fear. Then everything clicked. "The project, all this time, it's about control, isn't it?" Jack's voice trembled, realization scorching like fire. The truth was buried deep, and now it was worming its way to the surface, turning friends into foes and allies into threats. The city he thought he knew was crumbling, revealing a dark underbelly, a twisted web of secrets that turned friends against each other. And as the shadows danced with uncertainty, Jack's heart thudded hard, fear lurking as he stood on the brink of something monumental. Was Thomas the hero, a legend in disguise? Or was he the pawn in a game much larger than himself? Fiona's bloodied face held a truth Jack could no longer ignore. The city trembled, the world held its breath, and every second stretched like an eternity. The question burned bright in Jack's mind. Who really could be trusted when the darkness came creeping? Jack's heart raced as the chaos unfolded around him. The ground still trembled from the explosion and the shadows of. He scanned the disarrayed crowd, seeing panic etched into faces that echoed the chaos in his mind. Thomas was on the ground, desperate to reach Fiona, who was pleading with him, her voice cracking under the weight of terror. "Listen to me! We have to move!" she shouted, urgency slicing through the madness. "They're not just here for Thomas, they want all of us!" In that moment, everything Jack thought he believed fell apart. The truth of their situation shimmered like distant lightning. Richard's voice cut through the din. "You can't hide, Thomas. Your past will catch up." Thomas's head snapped up, pure fear giving way to determination. "I won't let them control my future." The operatives moved to apprehend Fiona, but Jack surged forward, instinct taking over. "Stop! Don't touch her!" He planted himself in front of her, chest heaving. This time, it wasn't just about his instinctive need to protect those around him. It was a fight against a system he had never agreed to be part of. "Jack, step aside!" Richard ordered, pushing through the chaos. But Jack wouldn't budge. The tension in his shoulders felt electric. "Fight back!" Fiona yelled, a spark igniting in the depths of her fear. "Don't let them take us!" Suddenly, Elaine roared back into the fray, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Show your power, Jack. Now's the time. Don't let them bury us." Jack felt the energy shift. The fear, once suffocating, transformed into a powerful resolve. "Together, then," he yelled, his voice rising above the clamor. With a fierce determination, he extended his hand to Thomas and Fiona. "We can't let them win. This is about more than any single project. This is our freedom." Thomas, still held down by operatives, met Jack's gaze, his eyes glimmering with fierce hope. "You're right. We have to risk it." In that second, they launched into action. Fiona swerved past Jack, darting like a lightning bolt through the chaos. She elbowed through the operatives, creating a path for Thomas. Jack followed closely behind, thrusting himself into the fray. Minutes passed like a blur. It felt like a battle amidst a storm. People shouted, chaos erupted, and the helicopter above thumped ominously. But together, they surged forward, pushing through the frenzied crowd, until freedom felt close enough to taste. Before they could escape the fray, a heavy hand clamped down on Jack's shoulder. He turned, heart racing, only to find Richard glaring back, his presence suffocating. "You can't escape this, Jack. You think this nonsense will last?" In a flash, the alley split open, and Jack saw a way out, a slice of light breaking through darkness. "No more running," he said, shaking off Richard's grip. "This ends now." They dove toward the glimmering exit when suddenly Fiona tripped, gasping. Jack turned back just in time to see her falling to the ground. Panic surged within him. "Fiona!" he cried, but Thomas was already beside her, pulling her up. With one last charge, they plowed through the remaining chaos. The air felt electric, and everything quaked under their determination. Hope ignited within them. As they burst out into the open street, applause erupted from a crowd of onlookers. "You did it! You're standing up!" Someone shouted. The collective cheers sounded like salvation, rising above the wreckage. For the first time, Jack felt the weight of belief, or something that resembled it, crash over him like warm sunlight on a cold morning. But Richard's voice echoed somewhere in the background, a dark foil to their triumph. "This isn't over. You may have escaped today, but the power is coming for you. This is only the beginning." Jack stood there, heart racing, breaths quickened, and energy burning in his veins. "I'm ready for them," he declared, voice strong. Thomas and Fiona nodded, fierce expressions shining with newfound strength. And for a moment, hope flickered like a candle against the wind. This battle felt like just the start, teetering on the edge of change. But then, this moment of freedom hung heavy with questions. What lay ahead? Who could they really trust? The city swirled around them, whispers of promises and danger entwining once more. Jack took a breath, an uneasy mix of hope and doubt festering in the pit of his stomach. And just like that, in the backdrop of the looming darkness, the world felt like a promise waiting to be unraveled. This is the ending you've been waiting for. But wait, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on even more exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking ending. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how it all wraps up. True fans understand how crucial your support is. Let's go!